It goes without saying that 2022 has not been the best year for cryptocurrency. From the November highs to the June lows, Bitcoin fell by more than 70%, and at times looked like it could fall much further again. The headlines were all negative. The risk appetite in the broader financial markets was also very negative. There was a lot of fear about recessions and interest rates and inflation, all of which compounded the misery that was being felt across cryptocurrency markets, but also risk markets as a whole. But we have seen a bit of a recovery over the last 6 weeks, which has given traders a little bit more hope. Now, at times, this has looked like nothing more than a bear market rally. But we have seen over the course of the last few weeks a little bit more promise, and we have seen a little bit more confidence building within the crypto community that this could lead to a more sustainable recovery. Maybe not the kind of recovery which we've seen in the past, which saw Bitcoin rally to more than $60,000 in a very relatively short period of time, but at least a sign that the market may be bottoming, the worst days may be behind it. Now, we have seen that across the broader financial markets, but Bitcoin has shown itself to be even more resilient than many of these stock markets. And that's been a really interesting development, really, over the course of the last 6 weeks. There has been one or two positive headlines as well, with Coinbase and BlackRock, for example, and maybe that's contributed to some of the more positive feeling that we have seen in the cryptocurrency market. But we are starting to see signs that that may be waning, and I think that's going to be something that's going to be the key focus now over the course of the next few weeks. If we look at the daily chart here, we can see that the Bitcoin has been rallying over the course of the last few weeks. But if you look at the momentum indicators at the bottom, the MACD in particular, you can see that while the price has been making higher highs, the momentum indicators, the histogram in particular, has been making a series of lower highs. That shows that there is no momentum support behind the price. So we're not seeing that confirmation. That divergence is a potentially bearish signal. The fact that that's occurring, moving up towards a relatively significant technical level, could also be contributing to that as well. You can see that Bitcoin has moved into that 55.89 day simple moving average range. Now, I think that is therefore the first big test, really, in terms of resistance from below since it broke above $20,000. That also coincides with the $25,000 level. Now, that is a previous area of support, which is why it's receiving so much attention in terms of potential resistance. So we are now going to the first big test in the 20,000s level for this cryptocurrency, and we are seeing momentum wane. The question becomes, is this simply profit taking from the recovery? We've seen a strong recovery from the lows. Are we now just seeing a little bit of profit taking, but the market has still bottomed, and then this is just the first kind of corrective move as part of a recovery potentially starting to form? Obviously, divergences aren't a price signal per se; they're just a potential red flag in any potential move. You always say, is this potentially shaping up to be a bit of a corrective move in the recovery, or is this the corrective move in the downtrend running thin? And therefore, are we going to see more dark days ahead for Bitcoin and for cryptocurrencies? And are we going to see those lows tested once more? I think that's going to be the key question on people's minds now. But I think the key levels that we need to focus on in the short term is 25,000, which is the first test, which is where we're seeing now. But I think 28,000 above there could be even more interesting again, should we manage to get towards that level. 28,000 is, again, a prior region of support from earlier on in the summer, late in spring. It's also the top of that 55.89 day simple moving average band, which I think will provide an additional test. If we can see a break through the 55.89, then that could be a significantly bullish signal in the short to medium term, suggesting that even if this is a corrective move, that this is a substantial corrective move, but it also could be part of a broader risk appetite recovery or cryptocurrency recovery more broadly as well. So I think this is going to be a really interesting few weeks test as far as Bitcoin is concerned. I think a few things need to continue to align for this recovery to have high hopes. One is that I think the news flow needs to remain more positive, because we did see a lot of negative headlines at one point, which created massive headwinds as far as any recovery in the price action was concerned. I think the risk appetite in the market needs to remain positive. And I think the inflation data we've had from the US this week and the jobs report that we had last week, etc., I think that and the recent commentary, obviously, from the Fed a couple of weeks ago, all aligns with the prospects of a continued improvement in risk appetite. But I think risk appetite needs to remain more positive. And if those things can happen, then we could potentially see more of a recovery. But I think the one point that we need to make clear is the fact that this may not be the type of rally, any rally that we do see. It may not be a rally that we've seen in the past, because the macro environment and the general financial market environment has changed rapidly over the course of the last 2 years. And therefore, these massive moves that we have become accustomed to so often in the past may find it harder to materialize going forward.